Imagine walking into like a really high stakes corporate boardroom. The air is tense, right?
Mhm.
A massive technical failure just cost the company millions, and everyone is just staring at you. You open your
Mhm.
mouth to speak. Do you sound like someone who's just guessing, or do you sound like the person who actually controls the room?
Yeah, because language in those moments, it isn't just about passing information back and forth. I mean, it is a psychological lever. The phrases you choose dictate exactly who holds the liability
Like
and
the holds the power. Welcome to this deep dive. Today we are looking at a really fascinating set of notes from a corporate presentation. It's titled TD0040 Technical Discussions, dated May 18th, 2026.
right. And our mission today is to decode 5 high-level business English phrases used in these multinational companies. But, we aren't just giving dictionary definitions here.
No, definitely not. We are looking at the underlying strategy, like how to deploy these phrases to actually manage a crisis, from discovery all the way to execution.
Exactly. Because when a crisis hits, the immediate reaction is usually just panic and confusion, right? The person who can frame that confusion instantly gains authority. And that is where a phrase like shed light on becomes highly strategic.
Right, so the notes mention using vibration analysis to shed light on why planetary gears fail under high load. It really frames you as the investigator.
Yeah, you aren't just reporting the bad news that the gears broke.
You're acting like a flashlight in a dark room. You are providing the lens through which the rest of the boardroom is going to, understand the failure.
It perfectly positions you as the gatekeeper of clarity. You own the narrative of the problem. And once you own the problem,
You're perfectly positioned to command the solution.
precisely, which requires shifting the organization's momentum. You have to signal that action is accelerating. Which brings us to our second concept, ramping up.
I always think of ramping up like merging onto a really busy highway. You can't just coast down the on-ramp at 30 miles an hour.
No, you definitely can't.
Right. You have to actively build momentum to match the speed of traffic, or you're going to cause a crash. It requires deliberate, focused energy.
And that deliberate energy is exactly what you're signaling to stakeholders. Like, think of it visually as accelerating up a slope. When the source notes mention needing to ramp up production of a new reducer model to meet surging market demand, they aren't just saying, we need to go faster.
It's more official than that.
Yeah, they are publicly declaring a strategic reallocation of resources. It tells the room you're actively pulling levers behind the scenes to hit a deadline.
But, I mean, you control the narrative, you control the resources, but eventually you have to delegate, right? You can't execute every single piece of the puzzle yourself.
Absolutely not.
You have to hand off deliverables, which is where the ball is in your court comes into play.
Right. And far beyond just being a simple sports idiom, this is a strict accountability mechanism. When you tell a client or like another department that the ball is in their court after sending a final proposal.
You're formally shifting the liability.
Exactly. You are publicly documenting that your side of the ledger is clean. Any resulting delay from that point on belongs entirely to them.
Okay, but I'm going to push back on that transfer of liability for a second. What if that client hits the ball back, but the boundaries of the project are just a total mess?
What do you mean?
Well, we hear the phrase a gray area tossed around constantly. Isn't calling a problem a gray area just a convenient corporate excuse for a poorly written contract?
It sounds like it, but in highly technical fields, it actually functions as a precise risk management label. It identifies the spaces where legal boundaries or technical definitions just lack established guidelines.
Wait, really? Give me an example.
Take software-induced hardware failure. If a line of code causes a physical gear to strip, who pays for that?
The software developer or the hardware manufacturer? That's tricky.
Right. According to the presentation notes, that liability remains a gray area in their current contract. So by labeling it as such in a meeting, you aren't making an excuse.
You're flagging an unmapped operational risk.
Exactly, a risk that needs entirely new guidelines negotiated. It prevents your team from accidentally absorbing the cost of a failure that isn't clearly theirs.
So if a professional is stepping into a new role and they are surrounded by all these unmapped risks and gray areas, how do they establish authority?
By demonstrating an ability to totally bypass the usual corporate learning curve. The notes highlight a project manager who hit the ground running.
Landing and immediately sprinting.
Yes. They finished a highly complex technical roadmap in their very first week.
Wow, the first week. So it's about proving immediate strategic value. You aren't asking for a grace period to learn the ropes.
No, you are already pulling them and generating outcomes. It signals to management that you are an asset right out of the gate, not a liability that needs extensive training.
Which brings us back to what this all means for you, the listener. These phrases do so much more than just convey information,
They manage expectations and define your professional boundaries.
and they subtly dictate the flow of responsibility in a room. So think about a bottleneck you are facing at work right now. Is it trapped in a gray area?
And what specific communication strategy can you use tomorrow to put the ball firmly back in someone else's court?